So it's 2:33. So should we give everybody a few more minutes, or do you think we should get going? Start? Get going? Okay. So we do have an agenda, but I wanted to do introductions and roll call first. We have, is Danny here? Danny Hammond? Not
He
yet?
said he's 10 minutes late, but he's on his way.
Okay. Associated students, we have Emily Sembalian. Not yet. Jordan Orozco's not here yet. For Management Association, David Leclerc.
Not here.
Not yet. John Wood is here. Faculty, we have Rod Foster.
Here.
Julie Kiotis.
Yes.
Mary Aaron Crook. Classified, Jeff Wojcik. Not yet. Ann Sherb.
Here.
Rudy Perez.
I'm here.
Gary Potts.
Here.
Julio Huerta. Not yet. And resource representatives, Dr. Bell is not here. Anthony Brown is not here. Diane Mandrafina
Who's here?
is here. LaCanya Fennessy is not here. And Cha Mancini. And then we have, Cha's here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then we have a guest, Hedva Weingart, who is our controller.
Hi.
All right, so the minutes from last month, from September 25th, are attached to your agenda. Everybody have time to go through it? Emily?
Yes.
Emily has joined us. So we have our minutes from September 25th. Maybe give you a minute or two to go through it? Okay.
I'm missing the attached minutes.
It's the stack closest to Gary.
Which one you want?
The minutes from last month?
I got it.
You got it, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it a lot.
All right, so anybody have a motion about last month's minutes?
Yeah.
Emily, you
I'll give you one.
So next time, let's just make the package useful. Don't we?
Motion to accept last month's minutes.
Is that a Harris?
Yeah. So we have a motion by Julie. Is it moved by Gary and seconded by, you have a second?
Gary's here.
Gary was the second.
All right, so my notes tell me we have a motion, we have a move by, and then we have a second. Is that not right?
No, motion, second, vote.
We're done. Okay. So is there discussion about the minutes? No? All right. In favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions?
Yeah.
John
Aye.
and Cha abstain. Okay. And then next on our agenda is the public comment. Do we have any public comment? No? Okay. And then next on our agenda is the budget development discussion. We're gonna actually change the name of that title a little bit because it's a little different. The two things that we do have though are the 50% law, who Diane and Hedva will walk us through. And unfortunately, and I'm really very sorry, the FON has not been completed. So I need to postpone that to the next month's meeting. So we will bring it in. We also had a public information request for the last 2 years, so I'm gonna ask that come in too, so we can walk through those 2 years as well.
For the font?
Yeah. Okay?
Is it possible to discuss the theory of the fawn, if not the practice of it here?
I would love to, but I don't have enough of a history or a background on it, so I could not give you the information that we may need. So I'd prefer to have it next month, so the people who,
Seems no, but that's hard to come by.
well, we have Crystal, and Crystal will be here, because we do now have the request for the other 2 years, we thought it would be more than appropriate to have the conversation about all three here. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, but we really did try. All right, so we do have the 50% law, and we handed out,
You have the handout?
all right, so you will have two handouts. You have one that's gonna come around the table that looks like this, a spreadsheet.
Okay.
And then we have the 50% law reference guide that should be a part of your package. So these two items.
And is there a place where we can go to actually look at the citations relating to this? I don't see it.
Is it up in
Oh.
the Chancellor's website?
This, where it says, well, this says prepared by SDC.
Yeah, I think that's San Diego.
Community
Yeah.
College
Yeah.
District? Is that?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I'm wondering where the.
You mean like the ed code?
Yeah, the ed code citations and anything else that's
We can
derived.
email that.
Yeah, we can email it out.
Mhm. Thank you.
All right.
Hi.
So do you wanna walk everyone through?
I'm actually gonna have Hedvig do that,
Okay.
but this is, submitted as part of our 311 report to the Chancellor's Office each year, and it is a document that's reviewed by our auditors, and this actually does become part of the audited financial statements. So Hedva, who's our controller, will just give us a brief overview.
311.
So we have-
Reported
So we have the 311 annual report that goes to the Chancellor's office, and then quarterly, we update that report based on the actual numbers. And so if you look in the board package for Wednesday
For
nights,
this month, right.
we
But
will
it-
have the quarterly
Right.
report for July through September.
Right, but it's a much more compressed document, and the 50% law is not part of the quarterly. It's just done on an annual basis.
But as reference, I think we turned in the annual at the last board meeting,
It
so
was
it's board,
approved at the last board and
so
submitted.
it's part of that board
So
package.
it's in that packet?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then
Mhm.
in the board packet that gets emailed out tomorrow and it's posted tomorrow, we'll have the quarterly. So the annual and the quarterly are available. All right, Hedva.
Okay, basically, it's a computation to make sure that, salary-related items, instructional salaries, 50% of the total costs. So, we have regular contracted salaries, and I'm gonna kind of follow this reference guide. So you have the classroom faculty and instructional aides are included in, like, the very first column here that says activity, and it says instructional salary costs. So those are the first column, the first two numbers. And then, there's other, instructional aides are in the 2000 series. Their benefits that's applicable to them. There's some other operating expenses that are included, and then, so the very first column has total activities that counts towards the 50% goal. And I'm gonna call that the numerator, for lack of a better
How do we prove
word.
that to ourselves?
I'm sorry?
How do we prove that to ourselves?
So if they wanna
Mhm.
cross-reference the numbers, where can they look? Can they look at the budget summary that we did for the adopted budget?
I'd like to know where the actual numbers come from and how these numbers were calculated. So I wanna see, this is what the salary price was. We
Mhm.
backed out office hours, this is what it looks
Bless
like.
you.
We
Mhm. Bless
backed
you.
out, 5 hours per faculty member for governance time. This is what that looks like. And this is only, and we backed out everyone who's on release time.
Mhm.
And this is only the people who are in the classroom.
I'm not so sure how you wanna reference it, if you wanna reference it to the budget, but on the 311, it's about a 40 or 50 page report, and you can, it's kinda sliced and diced, because they're not only by their object code, by the type of salary, like instructional or non-instructional, as payroll codes them, and, or human resources enters them and payroll codes them. It's also what program their, the salaries are attributable to. Although I didn't bring the 311, there is several pages, 10 pages, and it's by each program, like biology, math, or whatever, and you have all the instructional programs, like 000 to 4900 for the college, and all the instructors. So it's really kind of sliced and diced very thin, and this kind of adds up, it adds up to this. I don't know if that would help you or not on the 311.
So if I wanted to trace back to the publication budget, let's say, instructional aids, would they all be under the chart of accounts codes beginning with 2000s?
The instructional aids would be here, 20, it would be in the 2400 series.
It's under,
Mhm.
yeah, it's under the object code heading.
Okay.
Do we have access to internet? Can we bring up, can we try to, we can try to bring up the annual 311 if you want. Would that be helpful, Julie?
Sure.
Okay. So while we're doing that, do you wanna keep going?
So when is this total instructional salaries of $49,000?
The 49
49
million?
million.
49 million, sorry. That's complete salary.
No.
That would be all the faculty and faculty-related, 1100 and 1300 series, other faculty. Actually, even sabbaticals are in there, so there's a few different things that are in there. And those would just be for, of course, anything that's for all the programs, the instructional programs. I'm not sure if that answers your questions or not. There's a few instructional salaries that would not be included. If you look at the total column next to it, where it's 50 million, there's some salaries that we consider instruction that are not part of the numerator, like counselors, libraries, and stuff like that.
So the
Okay.
60 million that's in the next line, the total academic salaries, that was the total academic salary projection? Or is this
These
based
are
on 13,
actuals.
14?
That's
Okay.
the actual. The
So
60
what-
million is a total.
So last year, at the conclusion of June 30th, we paid over $60 million just in academic salaries. But for the calculation, all we can use is the 49.6 million.
And that's the result of backing out governance and office hours.
Yes, whatever those buckets are, backing them out, correct?
Right. And to add to that, there's even a couple more, couple of bucks in the excluded activities. There's another 174,000, and what they define. So really, the total, if you look at faculty salaries or the 1,000 series academic salaries, is 60,243,000.
And what we're able to use for the 50% law is the 49.6 out of that 60.2 million. Okay.
And then none of the classified salaries or administrators are part of the numerator, so they would be on the second column. The denominator is all of those salaries and the benefits associated with that. So that's basically how you get, that's the first page. And then again, there's activities that you gotta exclude from the whole calculation. And then the next page is,
What are some examples of the activities that are excluded?
this excluded activities. They include, student transportations, costs funded by lottery, cafeteria, bookstore operations. I'm just kind of reading the handout that Joe gave you that says outside the 50% calculation. Those would be excluded. Community service, economic development.
What about legal expenses?
The legal expenses are included in the denominator, the second column, in the 5,000 series.
Diane, can I have one of those?
Oh, sure.
Thanks so much, I appreciate it.
He has everything else? Okay.
I think it's on over there.
Okay.
Okay.
We're talking about the 50% now.
Oh, maybe Danny could get,
I just
He
have
has
it.
one.
She just
that
gave
one?
one.
Okay, all right.
Is it on?
Sorry, I apologize.
Do you have the mouse? Beth? So do you want to keep going
Yeah.
the second
Go
page?
ahead.
Okay,
Second
so the second page, again, there's really nothing that is included. You're the only you have the retiree benefits that are attributable to faculty when they were working here. That's
you tried
part
that?
of the allowable cost, or so to speak, the numerator. Then you have, and you have to also include that in, anything that's in the numerator is also in the denominator.
Can you
It's
see it?
just,
Yeah.
put in there twice. Then you have, also in addition to that, the, retiree benefits for non-instructional, or classified staff. Rents are also, not included in the numerator, any rent expense. And so you get the total denominator when you get to the, third page. It says page 4, but it's the third page in your handout. And so then you compare the allowable costs to the total costs in the computation, and we're doing really good. We're at 51%. And the objective is obviously to reach 50%.
Now, from what I understand, historically, many colleges have a hard time hitting the 50%. Last year during the audit, if I remember correctly, we were questioned about the calculation and how we were able to reach, and I think last year we were at 52 or 53%.
Mhm.
And while Marie was here, she actually sat down with the auditors and walked them through the calculation, and they said, oh, you guys are doing much better than many other colleges. So this year we went down to 51%, but still above the 50%.
Any idea what the difference was from year to year?
I don't, but it shouldn't be hard to figure out.
If you're talking about rental, are you talking about buildings, like space?
Rosemary?
I think
Rental and
space,
space,
it's
yeah.
including, would it include if we do rentals of, like canopies and all that kind of stuff, any rental
Well,
dollars?
these are
These are the
expenditures,
expenditures.
so those we-
Right.
Okay,
'cause
yes.
I wasn't aware that we rented.
Rosemead. We rent space down there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I know you guys covered it before I was here, but for, instructional salaries, so all instructional salaries are included, the full amount of the instructional salary.
Not all of it.
No.
There are some that you cannot. So we handed out this one-page sheet.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So under the middle category, like counselors, librarians, faculty coordinators, those all have to be salaries that are backed out.
Okay. But salaries of faculty members, the full salary is counted towards it.
Yes. Correct, Heather?
Yeah, as long as they are instructors for regular classes, I'm gonna say, for lack of a better word.
Yes.
So, just for instance, a hypothetical.
Rod, hold on.
Okay.
We raise our hands. It's school. Mary Ann, I'm sorry.
I noticed on here we have release time for department chairs. We have a lot of release time, but not only for department chairs. Is any faculty who's on release time, is that
That would be,
included as instructional salary?
if they were full-time instructors, yeah, but not, I don't believe the
Okay,
chairs
so
would be.
the 33 that we had last fall that we talked about, they're included in here.
Right.
Okay. Even though they're not actually.
They're being pulled out, or they're included in
They're
the 50%?
included.
They're actually included,
Even though they're not teaching during that time?
Even though.
right.
Yeah.
And
And that's up
your
to you.
understanding is that that's okay by the law? But
Mine-
that's not my understanding.
I can check that out, but that is my understanding.
I'm sorry, say that one more time. I'm trying to find the agenda for the last
Mhm.
meeting. So the people who are on reassigned time,
That
Good
aren't
question.
in the classroom teaching,
right,
they've been pulled out to do administrative types of things.
right.
Mhm.
And
So
some, I realize some may count, some may not, but they're.
Right. My understanding is that they can be included into the 50% calculation, but we can
Mhm.
definitely double check to make sure.
Or if you have a reference, if you can send it to us, we'll review it with the auditors.
And what about
Are you familiar
overlays?
with the website?
Overlays.
Can you find the last
What is it?
Yeah,
Well, I can't
it's
see from
down
here. I
on
don't
the,
have my
on the
glasses.
right,
Look-
go down,
Current board,
Yeah.
watch the
meetings and
board.
agendas.
Ah, there you go. Okay.
And then,
Well, this is where I was.
yeah, go down,
November
Keep going.
2014.
no, October
Oh, there we go.
15th. But I think if the board packet, it should be in
There we go.
Yeah.
All right, let me see if I
Alright.
can find the 311 Q.
there.
All right, Rod, you had a question?
So, we have a faculty person who is, receiving, 50% release time and 50% in the classroom. And the release time assignment is to manage a grant, let's say. We still can count that
No,
as
no.
being an instructional activity?
Not if it's for a grant, cause that's in the restricted area.
Okay, and so we should be able to test the calculation and see that those percentages are not part of our claim of 51%.
Yeah.
Right.
And librarians and counselors?
They are not included.
They're
Not
Yeah.
included. Those.
Dan?
Yeah, I had a question on the 50% law reference guide.
Uh-huh.
On the left-hand column, it counts towards, it says instructional service agreements. What instructional service agreements do we have?
Would this be like the Canvas?
Sure, I thought it was like if you have like a third party
Well, third
that you,
party, people
that
in
you,
hospitals.
yeah, that we're,
Oh,
Yeah.
that
so
we contract out.
we don't do
Mhm.
that.
No.
I didn't think
Yeah,
we did.
we don't have those types of
Mhm.
agreements here. All right, I don't know why this
He's
isn't
trying to
working.
load that whole packet. Are you trying to suggest the agenda?
Just the 311Q,
No, the packet.
the packet.
Yeah.
So it may take a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
And-
a low, well,
Overload classes, are they in here?
They should be.
Hedva, do you know?
Yeah, I said
Yeah.
they should
Oh,
be.
you did.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry.
We're
That's
good.
it.
So
Oh, what
anxious
was
for
the
that to
answer?
load.
She said yes.
Okay.
Dan?
Yeah, oh, okay, I'm sorry, I'm misunderstanding something here. The first column, where it says $60 million, that's the numerator, yes?
Are you looking at the bottom of the
Oh.
first page?
Bottom of the first page.
Right,
Yeah.
that will, it's going to be the numerator,
Okay.
but if you add it in, yes.
Okay, so at the end, where it says page 4, the 60 million, that's the numerator. That's,
Actually,
No.
it's close to 6 million, yeah, 59,9,
It's at the middle of the page. Just go up to 59,
59,
988.
okay.
yeah.
It says
And then
and
160.
oh, I see, okay, so the numerator is the 116 million?
That's the denominator.
That's the
That's the
denominator.
denominator. Okay, that's the important part, thank you.
Dan?
So-
Danny?
Yeah, you said when you were going over with the auditor, is that our PCC's auditor?
It's a
Yes.
third party.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
not from the chancellor's office?
No, but
No.
I do think they do a review to make sure, right?
The chancellor's
chancellor?
office?
Yeah, or do we just submit?
No,
We just
submit.
We just submit it? Okay.
Mhm.
Oh, is this it?
Yeah, you have to have
Alright.
it.
Apportionment measure P, annual financial budget report. Is it that one?
That's
Tab
one,
B?
Tab B.
Okay. Here we go.
There we go.
Oh, can't really see it. So what the information that you have in front of you is also part of the 40-page report for the 311 annual report. So the numbers, so at the bottom we have 60,716. Okay, so this is just teased out from that 40-page packet. Is that right?
Mm-hmm,
Okay.
exactly.
Yes.
All right, and so and we're counting the 50% only against the unrestricted fund, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
And that's
Correct.
fund 1
Fund
or
one.
3 or?
Well,
Fund one.
it was one, the crosswalk is now 100,000,
Yeah.
so it's still Fund 1, yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right. So, and that fund total is 123 million?
That's just what's related up here. The total fund for '01 is about 143 million.
143.
Yeah.
So, there must be something, I mean, just, obviously 60 million is 51% of 143 million.
But this is
Okay,
only
pass that
related,
question.
this is only related to the academic.
This-
Oh, no,
This
no,
is
I'm sorry.
116.
This year,
Yeah.
we're about 143, so 116 million was Fund 1 last year.
Okay,
That's not right.
116 is Fund 1, okay.
Right.
That's
But all of this is,
140
Yeah.
all of this is
Mhm.
Fund 1.
125?
Five.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
So 125, so for 13-14, the Fund 1 balance was 125 million. What we were able to use was the 60 million towards, or the 59.9 million, so 60 million
Mhm.
towards the 50% law.
Right.
Okay.
That's not 50% then,
Right.
it's not 51%.
It's 50% of the 116.
It's a,
Because
the way-
remember, you can't use
Mhm.
the full amount for the calculation.
Calculation,
You have to
right.
back out counselors, you have to back out librarians. So that out of the dollars that you can use, the 50% is 59.9 million, just under 60
Mhm.
million.
Oh, all right, well, maybe I'm misunderstanding, and I apologize, because I
Mhm.
know I did come in late, but, so if you're saying the total amount towards the 50% law is the 60.7 million on here, or 59.9?
No, 59.
Right.
Right.
All right, but if the total budget amount is 125 million, you're
The-
not reaching 50%.
Right, but
Well,
there's things outside the calculation. Do you have this sheet?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, because there's things in the third column that are excluded from the calculation, both the numerator and the denominator.
Okay, and okay, so let me ask this. Can you cite the statute that defines these things, that says you can pull these things out?
Yeah, so
For us.
we don't have it
Yeah,
with us,
yeah.
but
But we
we'll
can get
pull
it.
it and we'll
Mhm.
email it out.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
great.
Well, and actually, I have a question. So these items that are listed, right, because this is not something that was prepared here, but these items that are listed, is there an amount for each of them that is spent on this campus? Because if we're backing things out and we know the amount, then we can arrive at that calculation, right?
So Hedva, in this report, is there something that we can reference and say this would be something that we'd back out?
Like, how much do we spend on building and equipment leases? How much,
Yeah,
you know?
I think it's gonna be like page 30 or 40. You have the total expenditures by object code. That has ones, twos, threes, and fours. Could be the next,
These are the revenues.
hold on.
There's the expenditures.
Yeah, but
So-
that's Fund
so-
59.
Yeah.
So up.
Well,
Keep
and-
going up, keep going up. I think it's one,
Keep going.
keep going up.
That's the service.
General fund.
General
Okay.
fund, okay, so then the next, there's like the ones, twos, and threes. That would be right there, yeah, that was right, go back down to that page. You enter the information in the system and it makes sure you balances everything, but that, the actual, this is, it's kinda hard to compare because this is general fund, it's right there, you see the 125 million.
At the bottom?
Yeah, the actual, where it says 125, 616, 453.
Go up a little bit.
A little up
Oh,
there.
here.
Right there.
Okay.
Mhm.
Other than there's some items in the 6,000 series, that comes close to this,
Oh, the capital outlay.
this one. Matter of fact, it probably is the exact same. It's the same amount as
Mhm.
this, 125, 616, 458.
Mhm.
On what page?
It's at the end.
Page, the
Oh,
last
at the end.
page.
Okay, the third
Yeah.
page.
Yeah.
On the right.
So that would include, it reconciles to all of it. So it does make sure it reconciles to the total general fund there.
Does that answer your question, Mario?
Well, no, not really, because when I look at this and I'm seeing, okay, there's building and equipment leases, and then what would be helpful, and I think more transparent, is if you're saying these items can be excluded, then it wouldn't be buried in a however many page
So you want like a
document.
one-page sheet?
This is,
Okay.
but, you know, what is it, and if you are in fact taking some of this money out, so what is it that comes out for, each of these items? In some cases, it might be zero,
Mhm.
and in other cases, it's probably
So
a
what you're
whole lot of money.
So what you're looking for is basically two columns. What can be included, what is excluded, and what those dollar amounts are.
Mhm.
Yeah, and, you know, and how they fall into these,
Two categories.
whatever, document or regulations create or establish the categories which can be excluded.
Okay.
What are the amounts for those categories?
Can we have that by this meeting next month?
Sure.
I'll talk to you, I'm not exactly sure what I need to pull.
Mhm.
So that it's something that an
It's easier to
accountant,
understand.
someone who's not an accountant
Yeah.
can read and understand
Sure.
easily.
Okay. John? I'm sorry.
Well, I kind of put it in there, but I just have a quick question. So what we just decided was you're gonna bring money totals for those areas outside of the calculation? Is
We're
that what we
gonna-
decided?
I think what we're showing is what can be included and how
Mhm.
much, and what cannot be included and how much, and then the two.
How much for both columns?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Are management and administrative salaries included in the non-instructional academic salaries?
Are you looking at the second column?
Repeat your question.
The administrative and management salaries, I'm just looking to see where they are included. It's probably not in classified salaries, they're not included in instructional salaries, so I would imagine they're included in non-instructional
I don't
academic
have it
salaries.
on Horizon, but I think it's in 21.
It
Non
looks,
academic.
in the classified
Mhm.
salaries, under that heading,
Mhm.
it's non-instructional salaries, regular status, 2,100, 19 million. And we can double check to make sure that those are the, non-academic managers' salaries.
Sorry, what page were you on looking at?
On the first page?
First page.
Yeah,
And
so we'll double check that.
So the academic managers are under academic salaries and the classified managers are under the non-instructional salary. Right? That's right. That's the way it should be.
That's why you look concerned.
I'll look it up,
Okay.
just to make
Mhm.
sure.
So we'll double
I know
check
they're in
that
this
the
column, but
2100
which-
we'll check that the line 2100 regular status is the non-academic management salaries. Yes, Ann.
What, can you define the difference between does not count towards 50% goal and outside 50% calculation?
So if you look at this sheet, the heading for does not count, salary and benefit costs of, and it lists, and then the operating costs, and then outside the 50% calculations are the exclusions from the calculations. So funded by categorical programs like all of our grants.
So what's the difference between exclusion and does not count?
So I think, well, I'll let you go ahead.
The way I would answer that is that if it is a non-teaching in the classroom, and we'll double check the reassigned time, then it would not be part of the 50% calculation. So a counselor is not in the classroom, so therefore they're not counted as part of the calculation.
But the difference between the two, I think what you're trying to understand, I think, is that, these aren't even part of the denominator. They're completely out of the calculation, the ones on the far right.
The third
Okay.
column,
And
yeah.
then the ones in the middle are excluded, they're the ones that are pulled out of the costing.
They're
Very good.
part
Oh,
of
they're
the
put in and then
denominator.
taken out
Part of the
again?
total.
Yeah,
They
so they're
put
part
it
of the
in and they
total.
don't count it on the 50%.
So it's part of the total, but it's not part of the 50%.
Oh, and yeah, and the outside is not even
It's
part
You
of
not
it.
can't
even
even use it
included.
as part of the
Okay,
total.
got it.
So let me just put it differently, just to make sure I'm right. So if column 1 and column 2 should equal 100% for the purpose of the calculation,
Yes,
and the things that are outside have already been
pulled out.
pulled out of the calculation.
Right.
Joe, I
Mhm.
had a question about counselors and librarians who are in the classroom. Do they count?
Oh, yeah, that, I was gonna ask that.
We'll have to look at that.
See
We'll
how
look.
they're coded.
Yeah.
So just from my knowledge, we have counselors and librarians who also teach.
They
Yeah.
teach class, like counseling classes and library classes.
Oh, cool, okay.
And
I-
you
I
have to.
think-
So that's
I
part
think
of
they're
it.
included in instruction because we get paid out of a separate
Oh.
cost center.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if it depends how they're paid out.
Okay.
And do you always do that as overload?
Yes.
It's part of overload, is that what I heard?
Yes,
Okay.
for librarians, yes.
And
But
overload
is
is.
that always true, that it's always part of overload?
No, no.
So
That's
it's
just the way we
gonna
do
be
it.
different for
Yes,
different
for-
individuals?
yes.
Oh, okay. So the overload is part of the calculation, so it's the difference that we need to look at.
Can they
Okay.
give me
The
overload?
librarian's primary responsibility is the library tech program, is in the classroom primarily.
No, librarian,
Right, yeah.
full-time librarian, primary responsibility is library. If you teach a class, you get paid from a different cost center. And usually it's not part of your load, you have to teach it as overload.
Okay, Dan.
So, and maybe you said this again at the beginning, but so there's a report that you send to the chancellor's office every year. This is,
Yeah.
this is
So
part
this
of
is
it.
the annual report, and the board packet that will be posted tomorrow night will have the quarterly report. So the annual does the projection for the year, and then every quarter, the actual numbers are put in for what we did the previous 3 months.
That's the 311 report.
311 annual, and then the quarterly, the 311Q
Right, right.
is every quarter.
But isn't there a separate 50%, some kind of document that you send in that calculates all the 50% stuff, has all the details in it to the chancellor's office?
That's what
That's what
that
this
we-
is.
The 311 is it?
No, this is the
This is-
report that gets submitted for the 50%
Part of
loan.
the
So what we're saying
311.
is, in the annual report,
Uh-huh.
those numbers get pulled, and then they're reconciled, and they're plugged into this report to send to the chancellor's office.
I guess what I'm asking is, whatever it is that you send to the chancellor's office to verify the 50% law, I was wondering if we could get a copy.
Yeah, that's what.
That's what this is. This is part of the 311 report that goes to the chancellor's office, so this
Okay.
is what was submitted.
So these 3 pages are the only pages that go to document the 50% law?
Right, these
Which
3
is
pages of
part
the
of
311.
Part of the 40-page report, it's the first
Mhm.
few
Are
pages.
they separated out, or are they just
No.
part of the report?
They're part of the whole report.
So to make it
Mhm.
easier, in the next meeting we have, we will bring in these categories, and we will show you what those dollar amounts were that were applied or
Mhm.
taken out or not even considered.
Okay,
Which
so-
is separate than what this report is.
So, just so I understand right, so when you're verifying 50% law with the chancellor's office,
Mhm.
you send the 311Q, and within the 311Q are these 3 pages And that's all the documentation you sent to the Chancellor's office to verify that we're meeting 50% law.
Versus-
Not the 311Q, the annual 311, which is what this is.
Oh, okay,
We don't
sorry,
do the,
sorry.
yeah, we
Okay.
don't do the 50% law as part of the
Every
311Q,
quarter, right, okay, you do
It's
it
a-
annually, once a year.
Right, and that's
Okay.
what this 40-page report is.
Okay.
But,
Mhm.
but I just want to, what's the word I'm looking for? We send it to our third-party auditors to make sure that what we are saying is accurate is being reviewed before we submit it. So we do run it by a third party who does not have any ties to the district to say whether or not our logic is correct or whether or not there are assumed problems with the report.
Okay, and is the whole 40 pages is part of the packet?
Mhm.
The whole
Yes.
40
Yeah.
pages is the packet. What you're asking, I think, is the information related to the 50% law, is that what we have them review?
Well, they review the whole packet.
whole
They
packet.
review the whole
review the
thing.
report.
Yeah, right.
But as far as access to the whole packet, it would be in this board packet, all
Right.
40 pages are there,
Mhm.
okay,
Yeah.
all right, thanks, thanks.
So, the packet, when you send it, is that the budgeted amounts, or is that the actual expenditures at the end of the year?
For the annual, go ahead, Heather, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
The actual for 13-14 and budget for 14-15.
Okay, so you're sending both off to the chancellor?
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's
It's all
right, they're right next to each
Side by
other.
side
Yeah.
columns.
Okay. But when you report the 50%, you meant the 50%, you're actually doing that off the actuals, not the budget.
Right.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Can I ask a question that's kind of off topic? Would it be helpful if we brought these reports in after they're posted as part of the board package and we can walk everybody through? Would that be helpful?
That'd be great.
We can do that.
Knowledge is a dangerous thing.
It's better to be knowledgeable, because I think we're all asking questions that could easily, I think, easily be answered if we
Yeah.
made this a part of this group's review.
Right.
Okay. I mean, we're not gonna get through a 40-page packet in an hour and a half, but at least
Mhm.
we can try.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have another
So, I'm sorry, Marion, do you want us to bring this package at the next
Yeah.
meeting and
Yeah,
get it through?
please,
Okay.
please.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm sorry, Rob, or Marion.
Going back to, your citation of San Diego Community College District, I mean, I'm assuming that another district's interpretation of the law is not what you're basing your decision-making on,
No.
right?
We just
So-
thought this
We
would be
just-
helpful as part of this
Okay.
conversation,
Mhm.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but
I mean, so to that end, I mean, is that, I think then, I'd rather see what this district does in terms of taking what, what we're actually doing with the real money that the school has, how we categorize it
Mhm.
and what the amounts are, rather than just looking at something that's from another district that isn't
Mhm.
pertinent to us.
Mhm.
Could we do what we do
Mhm.
and create our own categories, which I assume might be slightly different,
Well, the categories should
Mhm.
not be different.
really?
Yeah, so what we will do is show you whether or not there's something that was not included here that we include as part of our calculation. And then we will give you
Mhm.
those dollar amounts and those two totals.
Now, the 50% rule was originally stated in the ed code, and so we could read that in the original Greek if we wanted to.
Yeah. And that's part of the ed code recs and statutes that we'll email out.
Okay.
Yeah. Rudy?
And the rest of the 40 pages is specifications about these numbers. How you become to these numbers. That's
Well,
what it is.
The 40 pages is more than just these numbers. It's all of our funds, it's how much we're getting for triple SP.
No, this is the final, yeah, but the 40 pages explain the step by step where the money goes and how it's spent, and then you come to the conclusion that the total.
These totals are pulled from that 40-page
Okay.
report, yeah.
So if I read the 40 page report, I
It'll
can
tie back
read
to this.
every detail on it.
Yes,
Okay.
I know, it's confusing. All right, any other questions? So our takeaways and what we'll bring back next month are actually what we'll email out are the ed code recs and statutes. We'll bring the 311Q next month. We will confirm that the counselors and librarians who teach in the classrooms, that coded information is part of the calculation. We will double check the regular status 2100 object code to make sure that the non-academic manager salaries are actually pulled out and not part of the calculation. And I think that's all I have. No, and reassign time, we'll make sure that that is something that can be included. And I think that's all I had. Is there anything else?
And one more thing, some sort of proof that benefits should be included, cause everything that I've read, including the CC League right now, Community College League of California, doesn't say anything about benefits being included in.
What does it say?
So,
Just is silent on the topic of benefits.
Okay, so we'll
So,
we'll ask the
I mean, if
chancellor's
there's some
office.
specific that the salary is only time you spent in the classroom, it doesn't seem right. Then if the benefits are included, then those benefits should be percentaged by the percentage of benefits that go with the hours in the classroom, if benefits are left.
Right, okay.
So
And Dan-
anything you could send ahead of time so we could review before we got here, like
Sure.
the statutes or whatever, that would be great.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
no problem. And if you want, we can start doing that ahead of time before each
Mhm.
meeting.
Cool.
Okay?
Great.
We'll try to do it at least a week ahead of time.
That'd be
That'd
great.
be great.
Okay.
What are instructional service agreements?
What are instructional service agreements? Where do you see that?
I see it in
Oh.
the first column on the San Diego Community College District page, and it's the last item. So it says it's what counts is classroom faculty, instructional aides, and instructional service agreements.
Do you want to answer?
Oh, I'm sorry.
There-
Yeah.
The instructional service agreements, we do not have any
Mhm.
from what I
Right.
understand. So an instructional
Mhm.
service agreement would be somebody who,
It's a third party.
who's a third
Mhm.
party, like if we had a, what do we call them here, like a PSA? We have a
Mhm.
contract with somebody for some reason and they're providing this type of service in a lab, they're teaching in the lab, that kind of thing, it's not included as part of the calculation.
What about the extension, or is that part
Oh.
of this?
Rosemead?
No, the extension, the district has
Flower
an
arrangement.
extension program where they have, like,
Pay for classes.
Yeah.
pay for classes like how to invest or gardening or dancing, they're not included.
They're not part of this.
Community service and community ed is not included.
Okay.
They would be part of the denominator as opposed to the numerator.
And non-credit?
If they're part, normally I think non-credit, if the program associated with it would be like community ed, that would be denominator.
So you're saying community ed and non-credit are part of the denominator?
I'm gonna say I'm not familiar with non-credit, how it's coded. The 311 looks at what's called program numbers. The state gives program numbers for program, meaning like a TOPS code, like I was saying earlier, biology, math, or what area they're teaching. And it's very specific if it's in that, what we turn in like for the FTES. So it's very specific in that it only allows programs from 100 to 4,900 and it's defined by the state.
So this sounds like some document other than the statute that's telling you what things you can include and can't.
Correct.
Okay,
That's from the state chancellor's office.
okay. Can we also get that?
Yeah, what is that
Yes.
called?
That's from the budget and accounting manual.
Oh,
I
the
can
band.
get that.
What
Okay.
is that called?
The
The-
budget and accounting manual.
And we can bring copies of that, or
It's
that
a-
section.
The
Only a
TOPS code.
program that's been included in the taxonomy is
The taxonomy between the 100 and the 4,900, it kind of defines it here. When I enter it, it'll say 100 through 5,900, and then it adds 6110, and I honestly don't have it memorized what these programs are. And so when you ask questions, I'd have to go back and look to see what it is. And so they kind of slice it and dice it between the type of program that someone's teaching versus the object or what that is, whether it's instructional or non-instructional or whatever. So you it's kind of a grid that you have to extract. And then they do back out and pull out again the 5,900, like you add it in and pull it back out. Why they do that, I don't know, but it's in there. So it's kind of mechanical, so I would have to sit there and look at their definitions.
And that's from the chancellor's office?
Yes.
Okay,
The
so
budget-
apparently that's their interpretation of the statute. I mean, part of the statute.
Right, and
Okay.
the budget and accounting manual not only instructs us how to code, say the 100 through the 4,900 and 5,900 and all the community ed and auxiliaries and stuff like that. It also tells us, and it's a pretty thick manual, what is in detail, 1100, 1200, 1300, and they define each type of instruction or non-instruction and how to code it. In other words, we don't have the opportunity to say, well, let's just put it here or there. And then that's what the auditors review, that we're classifying each expenditure in the right fund, in the right object, and the right program number.
Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Would
what,
it-
what about stipends, are those in here?
They would be in there, but I would have to look at the coding for the stipends.
Okay.
And I'm gonna guess if it's in the object codes, the 100 object codes with the program numbers 1 through 49, it'd be the numerator. If it's not, it would fall in the denominator. I think it would depend on what the stipend is coded for. I'm sure there's some stipends related to instructional, and there might be some stipends not related to instructional. I can't answer that because I don't know all the
Right.
stipends and what it's attributable to.
Do you know that last year as many as 10% of our full-time faculty were more than 50% release time?
Say that
No,
again.
I didn't know that. I mean, I
Okay.
wasn't.
10% is,
Almost 10% of our full-time faculty were on 50% release time. So
Or more.
that seems like it would really affect this 50% law if they're being included erroneously.
right, and that's why we'll double check.
And so when I see this term classroom faculty, I can take that literally as somebody staying inside a classroom or is doing distance learning
And that's our understanding.
in a room or virtual.
And this includes adjunct faculty, correct?
Yes.
Danny?
Yeah, the FFON calculation, not to change the subject, but is that also in this 40-page, so how you calculate that out?
No, it's a
That's
different,
whole separate thing?
yeah, and Crystal will actually be here and she'll walk us through that
Okay,
calculation, yeah.
okay, so they don't even, that's not part of the whole 311Q, the FFON?
I have not seen the FFO1 calculation before. It may be dependent on some of the information in here, but I was gonna learn when Crystal was here.
Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry,
No, it's all right.
but yeah. And that, I don't know if you heard, Danny, before you came in, we don't have that calculation finalized yet, so we're gonna postpone that to next month.
Okay.
And are we still wildly vacillating between 11 and 24?
I don't think so. Why? What,
Because
wildly
that was the
vacillating?
Well, we're
last
wondering what
number
the-
that we heard.
Okay, I don't have the final
It
number
could be 11 and
yet.
it could be 24.
Came up in Senate the other day.
Okay.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, well, I'll have to look.
Statistically, it's a pretty wild.
That's a pretty big gap,
Yeah.
50%, more than 50.
Quite a range.
Yeah.
But isn't it hopeful?
But she's actually.
Good, John, good.
That was very good, I like that. The glass
Oh,
is
I just spin, John.
possibly half full.
Mary Erin.
What about professional development? Is that in one column or the other?
It would be in the denominator.
Would be in the denominator?
Disallowed.
Okay.
No, it's
in
part of the
denominator.
calculation.
Doesn't
Right,
count.
It's
okay,
included,
but it
but it's
doesn't
not
count.
part of the 50%.
Yes, John.
This is really kind of off a little bit, but in understanding the 50% law, what is the law is that we need to be 50% salaries and 50% other expenses? Is that the law? I mean, when I say it, are we out of compliance?
No, we're in
No, we're in
compliance. We're
compliance.
definitely.
We're
in-
5149,
Right.
and
Okay.
that's
Right.
within 50/50, that's the range,
Absolutely.
what's the circle on that?
I'm not sure I understand what the circle,
Well, I mean,
meaning that it
shouldn't we
just.
be exactly 50/50, or?
No,
No,
they
the
wanna
more the
see-
better.
Yeah, they want to see that at least 50 cents of every dollar is being used for instructional purposes.
Okay, so the higher for salaries, the better.
Right.
It's
The
not
higher
just
the
Salary-
salaries,
it's
it's not
actually
just
the
salaries, I mean, there's other things
Yeah.
included in here.
Yeah, but
But, I mean, it's
we can-
mainly salaries,
Yeah,
I mean, you
yeah.
know,
Instructional
95%.
salaries.
Okay, I just
It
didn't
says
understand the
salary.
law enough, so
Yeah.
thank you.
My understanding is they wanna prevent, classrooms with 100 or 200 students, and they wanna make sure that we have enough instructors to
I see.
facilitate the students. That's their way of getting at it.
It used to be to try to get classroom size decreased and get more full-time faculty hired when it began in 1961, since I've been
Wow.
reading that for the past
6 months. And it's fun
Certainly
reading,
not
isn't it?
since 16.
Doesn't put you to sleep at night, right? Okay, so that's what we had for the 50% law. We will take these things back. We will try to get them to you at least a week before the next meeting, but at least 72 hours when the agenda comes out. Is there anything else? I said that we would provide the budget manual information related to the 50% law. Do you want the full manual? It is pretty big,
Well,
but
anything you can send electronically is better to save paper and
Okay.
whatever. So, anything, for me anyway, I don't wanna speak for everybody, but anything you can send me electronically, then I can just read it on my computer and I don't have to necessarily print it all out.
okay. You can download it on Kindle.
Yeah.
So you can read that at night, and Julie can read the 50% law? Okay. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, any other questions about the 50% law? No? Okay. So the FON, as I mentioned earlier, the calculation is not done. I apologize for that, but we will have it at the next meeting, and Chris will be here with a PowerPoint presentation to kind of walk us through how that comes up. All right. Last thing was, we just attached a release from the state controller's office about revenues and increases, and they were actually projected higher than anticipated as part of the budget. So it came in about 7.4% higher than what was projected for the first quarter of the year, July through September. Okay.
So we're all getting 7.4% raises?
I was thinking the same thing, right?
Only if I get one first. How's that?
Joe?
Okay, well, we're okay with it.
Don't you hold the purse strings?
All around.
Write yourself a check, damn it.
No, then that's
Well,
called
we
jail
have a
time.
we have a
That's
Me
called
Too
jail
clause.
time. I'll fill out the check, you sign it, Julie. How's that? All right. So that's really all that we had. Again, I'm really sorry we didn't have the FON stuff ready, but we will have it next month. Is there anything you guys want to talk about? I know that if it's not on the agenda, we can't, but maybe we could put it on the next agenda. Anything at all?
If we could get, the updated release, the reassigned time numbers, that would
Okay.
be good.
That actually comes out of Dr. Bell's office, so I'll have to find out from him if he has something that's updated.
He doesn't. Well, he hasn't, he's supposed to be working on it, and maybe
Okay.
he needs your help.
Yeah.
Please don't volunteer me for more work.
to do. Come on.
But I'll ask him, and if we
Yeah,
can, we'll put it on the
okay, then
agenda.
just a heads up for you.
It would be
Well,
nice.
think of it that way, Joe.
What time
So-
last year did we get the report?
It was,
Maybe
it was
recall.
about, I think it was the November meeting, maybe, end of November about.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice just to institutionalize that as something we
Sure.
look at every year.
Okay. Now, because I'm not familiar with it, is there a period of time that it should be coming up each year, or is it just something that we do
It just
throughout the year?
started last
No,
year.
remember the
Okay.
report, you did it, actually.
Well, all I did, let me just be clear, is copy and paste into a Excel document so people could sort it. So, but I don't know, is that something that we do prior to every semester,
We
or is
had,
it?
that was the.
So
I
Joe,
think
did you find that information in the big publication budget, or where did you copy and paste from?
I think, I didn't find it. I think HR provided it
Oh,
to
okay.
Dr. Bell.
So it comes from HR.
Yeah.
No, maybe you can tell them to do it.
I will ask. I'll see if we can get it.
Yeah, no, it would.
No, but I
we-
think my question is does the reassigned time happen throughout the year, or is it happen prior to every semester? So if we institute it as part of a review for this group, is November a month that works for everybody, or should it be July 1st or January 1st, or?
First of all, I think I think November worked last year because by the time it had happened, we pretty much captured things that had been built into the budget in July and things that had also been built into the budget at the start of the school year.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, maybe that's something that the people who are on the reassigned time committee, or one, could figure out and discuss. I think last year we got it in November just because you got it to us pretty promptly.
Okay.
Which was appreciated, but we haven't seen a report for about a year.
Okay.
And it would help us.
Okay.
And it would help us, I think it'll help with the FFON discussion, as well.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to bring up, and I think we have it on the agenda for next month, is the the review for the 15-16 budget. We're gonna start a process, so everybody has the information, and we're gonna kinda, as we're developing it, we wanna walk this group through it to make sure that what we're thinking makes sense. So that should, if it's not on the next agenda in December, it'll be there. Cause we're hoping to roll it out sooner this year, so we're not in a mad rush towards the end of the fiscal year. Okay? And then, the last thing I want to talk about is the meeting schedule. So we were asked to move up the December meeting because I think we were on break. So we went from December something up to December 4th, and then these dates are the dates that we already had scheduled. So not necessarily for a conversation now, but by next month, if you can tell us whether or not these dates still work for you, we can confirm it. Okay?
And for the next meeting, I believe that this meeting and the benefits meeting collide.
On December 4th?
The November 20th.
Oh,
November
November
20th.
20th.
So maybe just check with Julie, so we're not having
Because of the
colliding meetings.
Thanksgiving break,
Yeah.
so everything.
Actually, I think we did talk about that because they
Okay.
did,
Cause I have both on my
Mhm.
calendar right now.
yeah.
23rd.
November 20, she's talking about November 20
All right, I will double check.
is the next meeting.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay. You don't wanna come in on Thanksgiving?
Not so much.
All right. Any other questions, concerns, comments?
Thank you very much. There's a lot of information to come up with, and we always ask for more than we get, and I appreciate your willingness to do that.
No problem. I feel bad because we think we're prepared when we come in. We try to anticipate questions. Because we don't wanna carry it over from one meeting to the next, because it's a month in between. And, you know, we all lose the context of the conversation, so we're trying to do much better.
Suggesting you meet by monthly, are you?
No.
You know, I'm looking at my calendar, and now planning priorities is meeting every week.
Oh, they told me today they wanna move that up. They wanna do it twice a week.
No.
You're
They told me
serious.
today. They
He
told me.
said that, didn't him? You're serious.
No, I was told that today, that there's too much to go over.
The meetings were changed from 12:30 to 2, to 12 to 2. And
Every week, but they say there's too many changes being recommended for the accreditation report that need to be done very quickly.
Lunch too short.
All right, so for the purpose of this meeting, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Right on.
3:30. Thanks, you guys. Thank you.